all right. Good morning, everyone. Viktoria, Viktoras, welcome. And to our audience, welcome to the second episode of the Weekly Huddle. We are happy to be live, of course, with some technical difficulties as we are used to it. But given the fact that we are broadcasting on LinkedIn, it seems that is something usual. So today we're going to have an awesome show, but let's first ask our two guests to introduce themselves. Let's start with Viktoria. You're on mute.
All right. Do you
Good.
hear me now? Good.
Yeah.
Technical hurdles, as you said. Well, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be here and having this Thursday morning get started with you guys. My name is Viktoria Soltesz, and I'm the founder of the payment consultancy PSP Angels. Couple of words about us. Basically, we try to help online businesses to understand how banks think and how to please the banks so the money flows in a nutshell. So we are helping with the payment flow, setting up the payment plan, and overall arranging the financial aspects of a company, representing all the different providers on the market. Meanwhile, not working closely with anyone, so we can be completely independent and give a proper market view of the whole market. So today, I'm hoping that I can share a couple of insights, information of the payment market, what affects the online businesses, and I'm really looking forward to a really good conversation this morning.
All right, thank you so much, Viktoria. Viktoras.
Hello, guys. So thank you, of course, to the HIPTHER'S. Thank you to the Zoltan inviting me here. I'm so excited to be here. So glad for that. So short about me. So my name is Victor. I'm a CEO of the Neopay. So we are the payment provider in European Union. Mostly we do focus on open banking and also on the SEPA payments. So I think that would be, a good ideas generation for this morning show to give you some insights to cover the questions we're gonna raise over here. So let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So it's a morning show about finance, fintech, and banking. Wow. I hope people have some strong coffees. But I'm just thinking that I could not do it better myself by choosing two guests, Viktoria and Viktor, in the same show, which is wow. Yes. I'm just thinking about this. Okay, so
I'm just thinking whether is it a coincidence or no?
No, it's a coincidence. I just realized this.
Okay, I got it.
All right, so now we're going to talk about 6 subjects, which news we picked from this week that were headlined on the FinTech Buzz and on European gaming. And the first one is solving the payments challenge facing the gaming industry. I know that you guys are both very active in the gaming sphere. So when it comes to payments, a game of risk is the last thing you want to put your business through, right? So for an industry that has been typically seen as a high risk by traditional finance institution, the gaming and gambling industries remain a huge and underserviced market. Revenue in the online games market is projected to reach about, this is for the online games market, US dollars 26 billion in 2023. So my question for you guys is, why is this booming industry still being ignored and provided a poor service? Viktoria, you can go first.
Well, this is nothing new. So this is definitely not the news of the week because we are suffering with this for a long time. Basically, we have to understand why banks are classifying certain industries as high risk. Now, the major job of a bank to maintain a healthy society. So that means that the banks should not allow any tax avoidance, any illicit funds to be paid, any help to for people to be able to pay for goods or services which are illegal. So in case that there is a risk of an opportunity of a wrongdoing, then the bank is very closely scrutinizing these kind of payments. And that's how, certain verticals, such as gaming, is having a higher risk score from a banking perspective. Now, the problem is that in case that only one transaction goes through in a certain bank or a financial institution, which is indeed illegal, then the regulator or the correspondent bank or the central bank can freeze the whole funds of that payment institution and even revoke the license. Now, no one really wants to do that kind of risk, right? So whoever is taking that risk, there is a reason, either because the client has to pay a lot of money for that, and that's why it's very expensive, or because these payment institutions are not that delicate and not that sophisticated in terms of technology or in any other means. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to take these kind of industries. So this is what we have to deal with. Now, as an online gaming operator, I usually say to my clients is that just because you're high risk, that means that everybody else who's willing to work with you is going to be high risk too. So you have to do your full due diligence to understand what is the reason of that financial institution to take care of your type of business, and always monitor who is your provider, because things can change very quickly. Today they accept you, tomorrow maybe they freeze your account, and what are you going to do if you don't have a plan B? So overall, yes, it is a big business. However, it is still a very, very high risk business that not that many payment provider wants to touch. And if you're seeing if you're looking at the big picture, it's still not that much of a money that would really worth a lot of investment and fight all the reputational risk, because we are talking about gambling, which is a political way. It's frowned upon. There is also a religion aspect of it, that certain religions do not support gambling. So overall, it is still a bit iffy. And yes, there is money in it, and that there is a big volume in it, but it's just not that lucrative to put that amount of money and effort to get the return of the investment, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Viktoras.
All right, so I would say I would fulfill to the Viktoria about regulatory challenges, because the complexity of complying with regulations makes a gambling risky for financial institutions to engage with them, because there is also reputational and ethical concerns, as the gambling industry is quite addictive, and the banks look from their perspective. So how those services which they provide to the gambling sites, the gambling companies, to the operators, how this could also impact their brand and customer perception, because it might have a risk and impact on that, and might be the clients not be that confident with the bank if they are working and exposing their services to such a high risk market. So this is also quite a crucial point to think on that. And despite that, I would say that fraud and MAL risks are really high in this industry, because this is in high percentage than a low risk business. And if this is done correctly, it requires more attention and exposes the financial institution itself to potential risk, and also to losses or even fines from regulatory side if they are working and not doing the email procedures in the right way. And to handle this in this particular high risk market, it takes very lots of effort on doing that. It's not the same as a low risk market. So I would say this is the biggest stops.
All right. So let's talk about the understanding the different options for processing payments for the online gambling industry, because this question is raised many times, and I don't think that maybe there's about 25 to 30% that doesn't understand the difference between these. And so when it comes to online gambling, one of the key aspects that is often requires clarity is the various options available for processing payments, right? So it's crucial for both the players and operators to understand these methods, as they play a fundamental role in the overall gaming experience eventually. So the world of online payments is vast and be quite complex, especially considering that is continually evolving with technological advancements, and we know that is happening every day. We see it. So maybe Viktoras will say, well, it's quite not going that fast as we think it is in terms of evolution of technology. But my question first for Viktoria is, in the context of online gambling, how do the various payment processing options impact the player's experience first? And what should players consider when choosing method for their transactions?
I always say like that the money is like water. It will find a way if it wants to flow. So it's unstoppable. It will go through whatever it's gonna find its way, right? And this is exactly the same case here as well, because there is one thing what the regulator wants and what Visa and MasterCard restricts, and you cannot do that and you cannot do this. But if someone wants to put their money on a gambling site, he will, and the gambling site will find a way to take the money from a player, right? So if there is a will, then there is a way. So that's what we saw quite increasing at the last couple of years, that even though that there are restrictions on one end, there are creative solutions at the other end. And I'm looking at crypto solutions, I'm looking at, top-up cards, gift vouchers, and all that creative opportunities on the market that we saw. Now, there is another aspect of this, is that how much the player wants to reveal to their family or whoever is looking at the bank account that they are indeed spending money on a gambling website, right? So that's one thing that maybe that could have been an easy way to actually directly pay to the gambling website, but the player itself wants to hide their activity for whatever personal reason. So there are also the important aspect that we need to see is that where this player is based. Because if I'm based in Europe, most probably my money is being spent online using different cards, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, whatnot. If I'm sitting in Africa, however, most probably I'm using my mobile payment application because that's a very popular way. Or if I'm in Asia, there is going to be the QR code. If I'm in Latin America, I'm going to a kiosk and I'm buying a voucher, and this is how I pay even for shoes, let alone the online gambling. So the operators always need to consider, first of all, where is the player who wants to pay them? Second of all, how reliable is that method? Third of all, who is willing to work with them? Because as we said, it's a high-risk industry, so we need to see that who wants to work with the operator as well. And based on all these factors, need to do a cost analysis with the risk and then decide what is the best way forward. So there is no one size fits all. And as we are going in the future, there's going to be more and more options, solutions. Viktoras can tell us a bit more about the open banking, which is very, very popular now in the Asian region and is sneaking in Europe as well. So there are always going to be innovative options, and you as an online business need to be aware of that to be ahead of the curve and be the competition on this too.
All right, so Viktoras, I know that we had a couple of long talks in Warsaw a month ago.
Yeah.
So and I know that you are working with many operators, and I know that you are like a problem solver. That's very unusual when it comes to partners, partnering with operators. Usually they just sell their service, but you're actually looking to resolve a problem for your client, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So
100%.
From an operator's perspective, because your clients are most probably saying this, what are the key factors to consider when integrating different payment processing methods in the online gambling platform? And how do these choices affect the platform's efficiency and user trust?
Okay, that's a very good question, I would say. Because first of all, the operators, when choosing the multiple payment options to their website, they are choosing not just to have those options in place, but to, first of all, manage the risk that might be exposing, if one of payment provider is now working on one of the payment payment methods isn't working in one of particular providers. So they need to be in control of this process, and they can change and switch payment providers to have enough time on the payment accepting. Because if this is not gonna happen, they are exposing themselves to the risk and not getting the client's payments. So this is very important, like risk management. Later on, for the operators, I would say it's a big point to consider its EAs of integration and maintenance. This is also very important, because this might lead, to some long times implementation, upgradings, and so what, etc. Therefore, the seamless process with the less visibility of the payment provider, I would say, is a key for them, because this is distracting the user who's doing the payment deposits of the online casinos, and lots of windows popping out doesn't help for that. So I think that operators should consider of having the payment options in their website, like from different payment providers, but having this as a seamless as possible, just to pretend that the payment solution is provided directly by the operator, by not their third party. But of course, this should be done legal way, that get a consent of the user so he understands what he's doing, etc. So also effectiveness and the geographical aspect should be also considered, because we have lots of common payment options in certain regions, like in Poland, like in Switzerland, like in other regions. So this also needs to be considered. As many local payment options do you have, so the easier way to the end users to do the deposits to their accounts. And the last, but I would think not the least one, is the cost effectiveness. Like having payment options which are good but not cost effective, that leads not a good approach. So cost effectiveness, it's also the thing that needs to be considered in all between those other factors I have mentioned. But having multiple payment options in the website for the operator, of course, this does affect the end user. So having unite payment processes is hardly reachable for the good user experience due to its origin providing from multiple payment providers. So it's really a big task to handle all those payment processes from different payment providers. This is really challenging. And for the operators, it's crucial to have a payment providers who are able to customize the payment flows for the operator needs, because this payment provider needs to be having their own payment systems, not depending on the other providers. So they could be in charge of the payment process, and they could easily upgrade, adapt to the existing needs. So I think from operators' perspective, that will be.
All right. So let's also look at the payment options that are available for depositing for players, because there was a news this week about Revolut, the Revolut app that is blocking credit card payments to Irish gambling websites. So this is basically a bullshit that is coming out of the pandemic, because back then there were some restrictions in many countries blocking players not to pay with their credit cards. So they used different gateways, like Viktoria said, money will find its way, to use the Revolut app or Apple Pay, Google Pay to bypass these things. Prepaid cards, they topped up their prepaid cards with the credit card so they can gamble. So they basically, there were a way to do this. So that Revolut has decided to block these credit card payments made to gambling websites in Ireland, and the decision was taken after inquiries showed that the betting firms in the country are taking advantage of these credit card payments that are made throughout the contactless apps such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Revolut. So there's currently a ban on direct credit card betting in Ireland under the industry rules. So my question for Viktoria is, considering Revolut's recent action to block the credit card payments to gambling sites, how do you think this will impact the behavior and choices of online gamblers in Ireland, particularly in the terms of payment method selection in the gambling habits that they have?
Listen, it's nothing new because we have seen blocking credit cards for gambling sites for many years before in different countries already. We need to go back to the original idea of why certain payments are blocked by the bank, because we need to maintain a healthy society. So if we allow people to use borrowings, credit, to be able to gamble, then we might fuel some kind of behavior which is not good for the society. Because if that guy gambles everything, who's going to pick up his pieces? Me, the taxpayer. I need to save him. I need to give him money. I need to retrain him, get him help with the fighting with his gambling habits. So overall, for the society, it's actually cheaper, better to restrict the opportunity for this person to get into gambling at the first place. Don't take me wrong, I'm the biggest believer that everybody should spend their money wherever they want to. However, this is how banks think. So that means that this is what we have to work with. Now, Revolut is in a very, very lucky position because they are too big to fail. So now they need to follow not only the profitability route, but also taking care of their customers from a political perspective and from social engineering perspective. So overall, if the society is better off by blocking these kind of gambling addiction using different cards, credit cards or loan methods, it should restrict it. Now, obviously, it's a whole different story, for example, in Las Vegas, because I've heard that if you're walking in the casino, on the poker table, there is a form which you can immediately fill out, and within 2 minutes, you get a loan, and then it can fuel up your gambling habits even further. So obviously, States is a whole different story, but in Europe, this is what we have. So Revolut is just playing ball. There's nothing new. Revolut is just keeping what it was supposed to be keeping. If there is a restriction on certain kind of spending, even though that we are coming up with creative ways like using the credit card to top up a Revolut account or any other account, it's not going to last long, right? Because eventually it's obvious why we are using that kind of method, to bypass some kind of restrictions or regulations. This is not good and this is not going to last long. So I always say to my clients, if there is a restriction, there is a reason. So just by bypassing it using creative methods, it's not going to solve your life for a long term. It's going to be shut down sooner or later. So this is what's happening now. I expect more and more places to restrict gambling on credit and loan, because, as I said, we need to consider the society's responsibility here as well.
Oh, we must take care of the society.
Don't we all?
All right, so Viktoras, from a regulatory and operational standpoint, how significant is Revolut's decision, and what implications might this have for the future of the online gambling regulation and payment processing in that country? Are more payment processors going to follow, or what's your idea on this?
And I would say that this move was made to the risk associated with online gaming. So this decision just underscores growing emphasis on responsible gambling practices. And the Revolut decision could serve, I would say, also as a model to other countries grappling with similar issues around gambling and payment methods. It also might lead to a broader international changes on how gambling transactions are processed. So this could also evolve from out of this. But as Viktoria has mentioned before, there are also examples of this before. So this is not new news. And this move could also enhance the trust in Revolut as a financial service provider. Maybe this is also the move they want to show up, so they are responsible in this side. But despite the fact, I think that this could be a chance also to shift to alternative payment methods. And I believe that this might accelerate the adoption of alternative payment methods in gambling industry, as an e-wallet, as an open banking, as a prepaid card, so even the cryptocurrency. So I would say this could be a move not only from the disadvantage point of view, but also from the advantage.
All right, so we haven't touched based on crypto, and it was not in our plan, but I'm going to give you guys a side questions. What do you think this Binance thing is all about right now? There's such a huge scandal. I saw some news that Cristiano Ronaldo is being sued for $1 billion. because he was advertising his NFTs on Binance. And now there's a scandal that's going to start because all the Major League Basketball Formula One has been also in cahoots with Binance. So what is your opinion on this? For Viktoria, Viktoras?
I think it's just it was expectable. Listen, if something is too good to be true, it usually is, right? So if there is a means that I can transfer money whenever, however I want to, whoever I want, bypassing regulation, cheating tax left and right, it's not going to last long, right? The only thing that these people forgot that we're talking about the blockchain, and the blockchain is something which is irreversible, right? Whatever I do is tattooed on the blockchain. So maybe today I can cheat taxes and I can be creative as much as I want, but a couple of years later, when the technology reaches the point that they can actually trace back what I did 5 or 10 or even 20 years ago, it's going to bite me back in the butt. And this is what's happening. So there is an opportunity for wrongdoing. Of course, there are people who will take advantage of it, but it's not going to last long, right? And this is what we see exactly, that all those wrongdoings of assisting money laundering activities from countries which shouldn't even trade with the rest of the world because they are under sanctions. And I'm looking at Iran or North Korea or Venezuela for this way. How comes that there is still an unregulated, unrestricted way of transferring money? And of course, there is a different aspect of it, that what do I think about it as a person? And as I said, I do believe people should spend their money however they want, but we are just going back to the same subject. We are living in a society, and there has to be some kind of restrictions to stop people cheating the tax and assisting in money laundering and criminal activities. So that's my 2 cents on the case.
Viktoras, what's your take on this? Is CZ going to jail?
I'm not sure about that, but what I think that, you know, this is it. This like technology, a blockchain, NFTs, etc., emerging as a technology, and it's gonna be, as Viktoria mentioned, at some point it's gonna be like you know, a legal way of doing the things, but it's gonna be regulated. But at this point, when there is no, you know, strict like recommendations that what and how should be done the things in there, so everyone is taking advantage out of that and doing the way they think. So they are just interpreting this technology, and that's it. And it's just a matter of time when it comes, you know, to the life, and the regulations will be there in place. And I think this tech gonna be like the main tech for us to be in.
All right, so it's the Wild West now.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting away from the gambling industry now, we talk about XXIMO, which is a corporate mobility payments platform, which this week announced that is going all in on the Amazon Web Services and will become one of the first EU Visa card issuers to process payments entirely throughout the Amazon Web Services cloud. This will begin next year in the first quarter. So processing payments throughout AVS payment cryptography and Visa Cloud Connect will enable the company to optimize operational expenses and scale its business to help make flexible mobility payments accessible to corporate employers and resellers across Europe. I'm just starting to get dizzy now as Viktoras is moving around, and I had vertigo right
just
now.
Grabbing my charger.
So my question for Viktoria is, how does XXIMO's shift to processing payments throughout AVS Cloud as one of the first EU Visa card issuers to do so change the landscape of corporate mobility payments for employers and resellers in Europe?
Payment is a big business, and everybody realized that. It actually started with the Stripe and Square, and when the big players from the fintech realized that there is a lot of money in payment processing. And even nowadays, when the society is going towards breaking down that barrier, when the banks are the middle layer who are checking the transactions, Now, with the coming up with the CBDC, central bank digital currencies, and all these newer technologies such as blockchain technology, we see a massive shift in this way. Everything is moving online, and the online payments are still somewhat based on 30 years, 40 years technologies when banks are still sending each other the SWIFT reports. And this has to change. And obviously, Viktoras can tell us a bit more about that. But one part of this revolution was the open banking and the immediate SEPA payments. So we see that there are going to be more and more changes in the upcoming few years when it comes to payment. This is just one of those. I don't think that we are going to talk about the same players and the same methods in the same way as we do now in about 5 years. I think the whole landscape is going to change, not just because of the AI and the big data, but because the whole processes will move online in a much seamless way, and that includes compliance. That includes the inclusion of the higher risk industries when they figure out how to treat them not that much as a high risk as they are now. So I really expect more and more changes like this, and of course the big players want to have a piece of the cake, right? So Amazon said that, all right, why am I paying a lot of money for external payment providers? Let's keep it in house, right? And let's try to control the money which is going through my platform, through my pocket. And I had just to agree with them because that's the way forward.
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk always win.
Of course.
All right, Viktoras. So considering the company's move to the APS for payments processing, what are the potential benefits and challenges of cloud-based payment systems in meeting new regulatory requirements and optimizing operational expenses?
Okay, so yeah, about this move, I would say I'm glad that we have such an ideas and such a moves in the market and the payment industry, and I fully support all those ideas which drives the payment industry like forward. And the cloud-based systems like Amazon, I would say can enhance like operational efficiency by providing the scalable on-demand resources that can be adjusted based on the transaction volumes, because this is the one of the aspects that needs to be considered. And this emerging tech could like potentially reduce also operational expenses by minimizing the need for physical infrastructure and related maintenance costs. And it's gonna cheaper the price for the merchants accepting the payments. And I would say the most important from that innovation perspective, that is that this could lead to the rapid deployment of the new features and services, and will be able to keep the pace of the market demands. Because at this moment, you know, when the market demands for the payment methods, the payment providers aren't able to do that at the pace the market demands. So I believe that this change could do that, and we will see how it's gonna look in the future. And also I believe that this tech could bring to the market payment methods and adjustability in the form that we didn't expect that they are like capable of doing that we don't expect that this is also still possible at this point of view. But this like change, I would say, can bring those changes into our lives that we're gonna be using. But despite this bright side of this change, things to be considered, I would say, because it's in the cloud based system. So this is like a data privacy is very important in this phase. Also dependency on the service providers and the third service providers. And it's gonna be challenging meeting all regulatory requirements and also managing the security risks. So this is my point of view.
All right, so jumping to another topic, which is something not often talked about, is the marital property law reform, which is needed in the Middle East and North Africa countries to end discrimination against wives. So, as you may know or not know, divorced women and widows are frequently denied a fair share of marital assets in this region because of discriminatory family laws and practices. This often is overlooked by important issues and is examined by lawyers and human rights activists. Nasser El Reyes is an illuminating new book publisher. The book is titled Equality Now and the Women's Center of Legal Aid and Counseling. So, in MENA countries, traditional gender roles typically result in women making significant non-financial contributions to the family throughout housework, child or elderly care, and domestic tasks. So, Viktoria, again, you are the society advocate now. So, considering these findings by Nasser El Reyes' book about the distribution of marital property in the Middle East and North African countries, how do you think the current laws and practices impact the social and economic status of divorced women and widows in this region?
I was really afraid of that question because there are so many layers that can affect so many decisions. What we might not understand coming from a different culture and coming from a different religion. I am a feminist. I'm a working woman. As you can see, I'm managing companies. I'm a boss lady. So I'm completely for equal rights and equal opportunities as well as equal responsibilities. However, I think there are certain questions which are outside of my understanding, such as understanding someone else's culture and someone else's behavior when they grow up on that culture and coming from that environment. All I say that every single law which is intended to clear out the differences in rights and even responsibilities between the genders, I'm up for it. So from afar, from a European mind, it looks like it's a great thing. However, I do believe that someone who is living in these conditions and understanding a bit more of the nuance of the problem can give a better understanding on this question. I'm just lucky that I'm living in a society in Europe whereby I can be completely treated equally as my male counterparts, regardless of my gender, as well as the color, as well as any kind of other circumstances that it's outside of my authority. And I can be judged on my achievements and on my own merits. And I hope that everybody can find whatever is making them happy. So.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty strange that usually these activists that are advocating and shouting for women's rights are never saying anything about this region. They usually now having this type of laws in Europe that they want to implement, that 50% of all boards in corporations need to be divided between females and males and stuff, but never talk about anything else. So Viktoras, from a legal and human rights perspective, what challenges and opportunities do you foresee in reforming this marital property law to ensure fair distribution of assets and discrimination against women opposed divorce and widowhood?
Of course, this question is, a bit like comparing with European perspective. We have a very understanding, very right understanding what is the woman, what is the man, how is the marital property. When you divorce, how do you split everything? It's everything by law. We're not discriminating the woman in the way that in many countries there are. So it's a bit hard and to understand and to change the mindset, how it could be the people living over there. And I would say that the biggest challenges what could be is cultural and social norms, because the traditional gender roles and deeply rooted cultural practices will be a significant barriers for the legal reforms, because those people are used to be in this way and they are not easily changing, because this is the norm for them. So it's very hard to predict how it's gonna end, but this is the way it is. And the political will implementing those all legal reforms demands like and requires a strong political commitment, which I also think that it's going to be challenging, and it might have a strong resistance on that. And from the legal precedents that some many countries have made, I know that some progress in the women's rights, providing models and reforms in that. But and in addition to that, what could help, I believe, that international pressure and support from outside this many countries could also be, you know, a good influence in that needs to be changed. And also empowerment of the movement of the women leading the broader social and economical benefits. So this is my point of view.
All right, Viktoria, you wanted to add something to this?
Yes, someone told me that the moment that you stop referring yourself as a strong woman leader and start referring yourself as a leader, that's when we can actually aim for equaling out the differences. Because if we keep looking ourselves as a woman in a man's world, we're always going to be a woman in a man's world. We should start treating each other as, okay, just an absolute norm, that there is a woman, there is a man, and even without the 50-50, whoever is the most capable should get the job, and whoever is the most capable should be representing certain aspects. So that's just my 2 cents here.
We're not going to touch base on the LGBTQ community today because that would be too long.
Hold under the can of worms.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about ETF because that's the key word of the moment waiting in the States. But in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited, the HKAX, is pleased to welcome the listing of Asia Pacific's first ETF to track Saudi Arabian equities. It's the CSOP Saudi Arabia ETF. This ETF, which tracks the FTSE Saudi Arabia index, provides investors with a new opportunity to invest in Saudi Arabia's capital market throughout the Hong Kong listed ETF. This will further enhance the global connectivity of Hong Kong's ETF market, and the new ETF complements the huge array of thematic and country-specific ETFs listed on the Hong Kong exchange, and will be the world's biggest Saudi-focused ETF. So, Viktoria, with the introduction of this Saudi Arabian ETF in Hong Kong, how do you think this will influence individual and institutional investors and their strategies in Asia Pacific, particularly regarding diversification and exposure to the Middle Eastern markets?
Emerging markets are booming, and I'm not a financial advisor, far from that. All my investments that I made seem to be not really successful. So I'm really far away of giving anyone advice on anything. But what I see from my clients are that really there are a lot of new opportunities in all these emerging markets, simply because the regulation is different than Europe, the taxation is different than Europe, and these areas need foreign investment. So they really support all those kind of efforts where the money flows into the area and supporting the region. And obviously that's why they can get perks and benefits and higher return on the investment. So mainly I can see that the Asian area is really booming, and that's why we can see, in my opinion, some political differences, because the power seems to be shifting away from North America and Europe, and all the new opportunities and all the unique kind of power opportunities are now popping up in these emerging markets. But it's not just only Asia. I can see that the same thing happening in Africa, the same thing happening in Latin America. So I think these are the areas that that we should really pay attention in the next couple of years, because there are a lot of innovations there. And it's not just investment. We can see new methods from the fintech sphere as well, like new payment methods are popping up, new companies are investing in these regions, delivering new services and new innovative products. So that's also some kind of trend which is very interesting to keep eye on.
All right. So, Viktoras, what implications might this have for the future of international financial markets, and how do you see this affecting the global connectivity and attractiveness of the Hong Kong ETF market?
Okay, I think that's a good, very question. That the launch of CSOP in Saudi Arabia ETF has and will have implications for international markets. So I think this development is likely to foster increased international investments and collaboration for the integrating the global financial markets, and it will bring diversification, and it will provide for the investors with more diverse opportunities as there is right now. And therefore the global connectivity is gonna be like more in touch with that development, and this initiative will enhance the global reach of the HKEX, because and showing its role as a key player in international finance and the bridge between various markets. And I would say also the market attractiveness, like offering a wide range of thematic and country-specific ETFs.
All right.
So this is.
All right. So, any final thoughts about the holidays? As a final question.
New things are coming up, so keep your eye on the market. And since we started with payments, and obviously that's my industry as well, I would say that enjoy the holidays. I think that there's going to be a lot of payment volume over the holidays. We are in a very lucky position because online sales are booming in every aspect. But definitely be cautious, because there will be a lot of changes coming next year in terms of AI, in terms of political differences, in terms of regulatory challenges. So overall, I'm really excited for next year, because where our challenges, there is always opportunity. And yeah, can't wait to see everyone face to face again on one of the HIPTHER'S events. So I'm really looking forward to that too.
Viktoras?
Yeah, from my perspective on the holidays, as the payments are booming and reaching highest peaks in the conversion rates, so it's gonna be a challenge for us to keep our systems up and running. So this is like from my perspective, I will wish that for my team, and also for the other all of the guys, also for the HIPTHER'S, that I wish that this period will be like a bit of the rest until the next years, because the next year is gonna have new pages to be opened, and new texts emerging, and there will be new stuff to do. And also can't wait to be there in any other your events, like the shortest one is in Prague.
Yeah, the first one is in Prague next year, and next second one is in Tallinn. And yeah, we're keeping an eye on technology, because we are having a fireside chat with an artificial intelligence in Prague. We are bringing a cyborg who is working on transhumanism rights. So there's lots of things to talk about.
Whoa.
This is just a side from the other emerging topics. So it's going to be fun.
Definitely.
So guys, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for our audience for sticking around. The recording will be live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Viktoria, Viktoras, I'm already wishing you guys happy holidays and a happy new year. And see you next year in March. And take good care.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.